Hello and welcome. My name is Valerie Burke, and I'm the Assistant Dean for Graduate Student Services. And I'm thrilled to welcome you to our ninth annual Rebel Grad Slam 3-minute thesis competition. The 3-minute thesis or 3MT competition model was developed at the University of Queensland in Australia in 2008. It spread to other universities in Australia and New Zealand in 2009 and 2010. By 2011, the 3MT competition phenomenon had spread around the globe, and now more than 600 universities from more than 65 countries hold these competitions. In 2014, UNLV held our first 3MT, the Rebel Grad Slam, and this year is our ninth annual Research Rumble. The 3MT is a fantastic opportunity for students to learn how to convey who they are, what they study, why they study it, how they study it, what they found or expect to find, and why it matters to an audience of folks who are mostly outside their field. It is an opportunity to build public speaking and communication skills and to polish one's elevator speech describing what they study as graduate students. It is worth noting that our slammers come from all over campus from a wide range of disciplines. Some are first year students, some are in their final year. Some slammers are master's students, others are advanced doctoral candidates. It is a diverse pool of 80 graduate students competing here this week. So today we have a group of UNLV graduate students who have been randomly assigned to compete in this preliminary session. Each will present their research in 3 minutes or less using one slide and no props. We will introduce each student and then start the timer. If a student goes over 3 minutes, they will be eliminated from the competition. Slammers are encouraged to pace themselves and use their 3 minutes without going over. It's not easy, but it's what the 3MT is all about. Okay, slammers, please make sure to keep your microphone on mute and video off when other competitors are presenting. Only turn on your microphone and video when you are presenting. Please be sure to stay for the entire session, even after you are done presenting. If you have any questions, please type in the chat in between presenters. Please don't use chat during anyone's presentations as it may be distracting. You may sit or stand while presenting. You may also wear a mask while presenting. Judges will not penalize you for doing so. You only have 2 minutes and 59 seconds and one chance to compete. And please keep an eye on the timer in the bottom left corner of your screen. Once you begin speaking, we will start that timer and you will not be able to restart unless something beyond your control occurs. If you're presenting and your dog barks in the background, just keep presenting. Please don't stop unless I stop you. Don't worry though, if you lose Wi-Fi or are disconnected, please just join back in. We'll wait a minute for you and then go on to the next presenter. If that happens, you can redo your presentation at the end. And please remember that you may not read your presentation or use any notes on your screen or in front of you. Now let's turn our attention to the scoring for this Research Rumble. The judges will be assessing the competitors based on metrics which total 24 possible points in 4 major areas: comprehension, content, engagement, and communication. Each judge will independently score each competitor. Judges will not penalize competitors for wearing masks to present or for unanticipated disruptions that are beyond the slammer's control. At the end of the presentations, we will tally the judges' combined scores for each grad slammer and announce the winners. Right here, live. The top 3 in this session will advance to the semifinals. I'd like to note that this round of the competition is happening live in WebEx and will be simultaneously aired live on the Graduate College YouTube channel. And to give you a sense of this year's competition, 80 students are competing in the preliminary rounds. Around 36 will move on to semifinals, and only 9 will advance to the finals, to be held 4 p.m. on Friday, November 4th. So without further ado, let me introduce the judges, and then we'll get on with our 3MT Research Rumble. We have a set of very distinguished judges in today's session. First, we have Dr. Javier Rodriguez from the School of Life Sciences. Next, we have Dr. James Navalta from Kinesiology and Nutrition Sciences. Dr. Caitlin Saladino from the Brookings Mountain West and the Lindsay Institute. Oh, thanks for waving. I love that. Turn on your camera to wave. That's great. We have Jose Melendrez from Community Partnerships. And we have Dr. Jacob Sikozin from Educational Psychology, Leadership, and Higher Education. Welcome, and thank you for serving on our distinguished panel of judges today. So we are ready to begin the competition. Our first presenter is Cindy Aneg, and she's presenting on activity-based intervention and one-to-one correspondence for children with developmental delays in an inclusive pre-K classroom. Cindy is a PhD student in early childhood special education with advisor Dr. Jenna Welges Ward. And now I will turn it over to you, Cindy.
How many of us experience some form of anxiety when it comes to learning math skills? Now, think about you being a child with a developmental delay in an inclusive classroom where your typical peers do not have the same problem. Can teachers create math activities that will help you to be able to engage in math activities by making sure those activities are of interest to you, are using materials that are of interest to you, and making sure that these activities are embedded in daily routines and activities that you are interested in? Well, children with developmental delay already have issues with learning in a variety of areas of development. One of these areas of development is cognitive development, which focuses on math and science skills. Now, one-to-one correspondence is one of the basic fundamental math skills that all children need. One-to-one correspondence means children will be able to count using one-to-one, count objects one at a time while making sure that they are using the correct number name. Now, research shows that children with disabilities have a difficult time acquiring math skills at the pre-K level. And at the same time, early math skills are able to determine or to predict their success later on in life. Now, this brings me to my question. Can activity-based intervention be used to increase one-to-one correspondence for children with disabilities in an inclusive classroom while they are in school? To ensure that there is a connection between theory and practice, I combine Dewey-situated learning theory, which ensures that children are having an opportunity to use hands-on activities to learn one-to-one correspondence activities or any other skills that they need to, and comparing it to activity-based intervention, which allows teachers to create activities that children are interested in while embedding those activities in daily routines that they are most comfortable in. Using a one-to-one using a single subject multiple probe design, I observed two children with developmental delay as they engage in activities and then created math activities that involved one-to-one correspondence that they could use to increase their math skills. Through this intervention, both of my children with developmental delay were able to increase their one-to-one correspondence. Now, because of this, these children with developmental delay are able to interact with their typical peers while engaging in activities that involve one-to-one correspondence, like playing hopscotch or finding rocks on the playground that they can count together. These skills will be used in kindergarten. And since they have this fundamental one-to-one correspondence skills, they will be able to be successful in acquiring higher level math skills that they can continue to use through their K-12 education. Thank you.
Thank you. Music is about to play, but I did want to make sure I announced Kimberly Sharon from Lee Business School in the Department of Accounting is also a judge with us today. Thank you, Kimberly. Hello, I am ready to introduce our next slammer. Torisha, if you could turn on your camera so I can make sure you can see us. Terrific. Torisha Cognac is presenting My Body Was Made to Produce This Child, Constructions of Natural and Normal Pathways to Parenthood. PhD candidate in sociology with advisor Dr. Elizabeth Lawrence. I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Even as more people choose to be child free, being a parent is still one of the most valued social identities in our society, and family continues to be foundational. Most research on parenthood tends to focus on what parents can do for children, specifically looking at things like parenting styles. My research, however, focuses on what the actual identity of parenthood does to people's perceptions of self and embodiment, or their overall experience of their body throughout the course of becoming and being a parent. I begin my analysis at the foundation of the body, finding that parents' perceptions of their bodies change rapidly once they begin identifying with parenthood. Through an interview method with 40 parents, I find that parents highlight a moralization of health and desires for a natural parenting process or natural births. So, in this case, parents view a natural pathway to parenting through the risk of embodied failure, where they see their bodies at consistently at risk if they cannot conform to expectations of a natural birth. So, parents construct a natural birth as a spectrum, but most tend to agree that it is through successfully conceiving, gestating, and having a vaginal birth, and having little to no medical interventions. Parents say that they have these desires because it is the healthiest and best way to have a baby, and that their bodies were built to make and have children. However, the problem with this is that then a natural birth is not only constructed as the best way to have a baby, but also the correct and right way. So, in this case, while parents are desiring a natural birth, what they find is that when they are unable to achieve these idealized expectations, is that they are now feeling shames because their bodies have failed them, saying that this was not the labor or birth that they wanted. So, when parents cannot or do not conform to these various types of expectations, they are experiencing what I'm calling an embodied failure, or a failure rooted in their actual body, and therefore cannot actually perform expectations of fit and idealized parenthood. So in this case, I want to ask, how is it then that these pressures formed by society, what does that say about us? What does it say that parents, before they've even had the ability to have children, are already experiencing a type of embodied failure? Even though we have technologies that have expanded the ability for us to have children. So I would like to just say, happy kids deserve happy parents. And the ways that we can support that is through empowering parents through these various parenting pathways. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. Our next slammer is Jorge Reyes. You could check your camera.
I think I'm on. Am I good?
Okay, I can't see you, but there you are. Great, perfect. Okay. Our next slammer is Jorge Reyes, presenting on modeling turbulence. Just go with the flow. A PhD candidate in mathematics, advisor Dr. Monica Nida. And I'm going to turn it over to you now, Jorge.
So I study computational mathematics, specifically computational fluid dynamics, or how fluids flow. And so I've run two numerical simulations here on the left, one of turbulent flow and one of laminar flow. And so laminar flow, you can think of as slow, all right? So think calm river, small stream, honey, syrup, something viscous, slow. And so on this picture here, I have drawn, so water goes from the left to the right, and it has to flow around these three circles. And we can see that it just goes, around them. And in fact, if you just erased it and I gave it to you, the audience, and I told you to, draw what you think the water would do if it had to go around the circles, you probably could have guessed it correctly. All right, laminar flow is very predictable and nice, unlike turbulent flow, which is really what I study. And so on the top, we see that we do not have a very regular flow, right? You have lots of waves, lots of circles called vortices or eddies. And so no one likes turbulence, right? Like if you're on a plane and the pilot says that we're going to get some turbulent flow, you're probably a little sad. And so I seek to model and understand turbulence. And there's a couple of reasons. There's many applications. So something you might have noticed around town as of recent years are Teslas, right? And so I think Teslas are kind of nice looking, pretty. But if you look at their rims or tires, you might have noticed that this arrow wheel, right? And you might think to yourself, why does like a nice car have this kind of weird looking tire? Like it kind of doesn't match. And it's kind of in the name, aero, right? It's aerodynamics. The reason that the wheel looks like that is to reduce turbulence while it's spinning, right? The reason is because that helps with fuel economy, right? And with electric cars, we very much care about being fuel efficient since you have to charge them, you can't just fill them up. Another application of fluid dynamics is blood, right? Blood is a liquid. We all care about blood. We all need blood to live. Blood's important. And so we can model the blood flowing through arteries, veins, heart, liver, right? All these organs. So on the top right here, I have a simulation of blood flowing through the heart, and we can model it under different conditions like plaque buildup. Maybe you had a stent put in, right? And so this is another promising area where we would not want turbulent flow in the heart, right? And so this is very interesting, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Hello, we are ready for our next slammer. Zhenyu Yang, do you want to check your camera?
Hey.
I think it just takes a minute for it to pop up on my screen. There you are. Okay, so Zhenyu Yang will be presenting on Memories in Watercolor, Chinese Elements, and Eastern Philosophy in Tan Dun's Piano Music. Zhenyu is a Doctor of Musical Arts student in piano performance, and advisor is Dr. Suk. I will now turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Counselor. Okay, so the Tandun is a well-respected Chinese composer, Chinese American composer, and a leading figure in contemporary classical music. So he has collaborated with very top-tier symphony orchestra and draw most attention among the new wave composer. He also received various awards, including an Academy Award and a Grammy Award. So in this presentation, I want to introduce his piano suite, Eight Memory in Watercolor, which is his most important composition in his work. And so in this piano suite, he used the pentatonic scale, which is a very traditional scale in Chinese folk music. He is very influenced by the Chinese folk music, especially from his hometown, which is the Hunan province. In the first piece, it's called Missing Moon. So he borrowed the melody from the traditional folk song in Hunan music, and the moon in Chinese philosophy represents a homesick. So he used this feeling to represent his kind of missing of his hometown, because he was studying at the Central Conservatory in Beijing. The second piece is the staccato beam. Staccato beam is a symbol of energetic child, which is borrowed from the Hunan folk song, My New Sister-in-Law. The third piece is Herbert Boy. This is a pastoral and visual piece. It is a smooth singing melody with a chromatic polyphonic background, which depicts Tandun's hometown. It also borrowed from the Hunan folk song, Grass is greener than the other hill. So the fourth piece is Blue Noun. It's borrowed from Hunan folk song, a girl from the country is coming into town. The number 5 is Red Wilderness. It shows the hopeless and essential brutal. It's kind of funeral sense. And the last one is borrowed from the shepherd song. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. We will just give our judges a few minutes. If you've noticed, after each slammer, we've been playing music for about 90 seconds, so our judges can score each slammer independently. And then we will be back in about 90 seconds for our last presenter. Hey, hello, Mario. If you'd like to turn on your video. Maybe you already have. I'm just waiting for it to pop up.
Can you see my video?
I see you, Mario. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, our next slammer is Mario Mata, who will be presenting on exploring bubbles in extreme thermal conditions. Mario is an engineering PhD student with advisor Dr. Jeremy Cho. I will now turn it over to you, Mario.
Some people have called me the bubbly or the foamy guy. The reason might be because for the past 6 years, I've been basically just boiling water. So that's what I do. I just stare at a bunch of bubbles, paper bubbles, and then I try to collect the meaningful value of those bubbles. So the enhancements, improvements to boiling heat transfer performance have been very challenging, and that's to the very unpredictable nature of bubble behavior. So in my lab, in a research facility, I have built this beautiful boiling device that took actually over 2 years to build. So here I can increase the heat flux. So the heat flux is basically the amount of heat that you supply in a system over a certain heating area. So in this device, I can collect and I can observe a bunch of bubbles. So as I increase the heat flux, you can see that these tiny bubbles start changing shape. So maybe you might be familiar with the mushroom cloud from the atomic bombs, right? So these bubbles are carrying out a lot of heat from a heating surface, then the bubble is carrying out all these heats and going to the ambient. So it's cooling this system down, and that's the main intention, because you don't want to explore a system that is, carrying out a lot of heat. So there are different techniques how you can improve boiling heat transfer performance. One way to do it might be by surfactants. So what is a surfactant? So a surfactant is this tiny molecule that has two components. One side is the water-loving, which is hydrophilic side, the one that wants to be in the water, and the tail, which basically is in the air, right? So that's the water-fearing side. So surfactants tend to absorb to the interfaces, to the solid liquid or vapor liquid interfaces, and they enhance boiling heat transfer performance. In some cases, surfactants might not be that good. The reason is because they increase the viscosity of the liquid at certain concentration values. So the bubbles become, let's say, something more heavy because the shear stress is heavier, so the bubbles cannot release. And what is the value of this research? The value of this research is to create more simpler and economical solutions for heat transfer processes such as boiling. And all these processes can be found like in your cell phones, computer, power plants, and commercial applications for water harvesting, and so on. So in this case, I have tested all these types of surfactants, and I have come up with exciting results that actually just got published a few days ago, and this just motivates me to keep doing research at UNLV and to also let people know that at UNLV we can do high quality research. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. And that was our last slammer. So I would like to thank you all so much for joining us for our preliminary rounds. A special thank you to the Grad Academy team who have made this 3MT event possible. Now, just stay tuned. We'll announce the winners live in just a few minutes. And remember, while only the top 3 winners of this round will progress to the semifinals, you will all be winners of a Rebel Grad Slam t-shirt, and you can get yours during the Rebel Grad Slam finals reception. Hello, I'd like to welcome everybody back. I am ready. Okay, so are you ready to hear the winners of this preliminary session? And as a reminder, I said before, while only the top 3 winners of this round will progress to the semifinals, you will all be winners of a Rebel Grad Slam t-shirt that you can pick up during Rebel Grad Slam finals reception, which will be held on Friday. And we'll send more information via email. For the preliminary rounds, first place winner receives $300 scholarship. Second place winner receives $200 scholarship. And the third place winner receives $100. So our first, let's see, our third place winner is Torisha Konik. Congratulations. Our second place winner is Jorge Reyes. Congratulations. And our first place winner is Mario Mata. Congratulations. Thank you all again for your participation. And please join us for the semifinals. They will be held on Thursday. So this Thursday, November 3rd. And we'll have 3 rounds. So one's at 9 a.m., the second's at 11 a.m., and the last one's at 1:30. And the Student Union Philip Cohen Theater. And then if you also want to mark down that the finals will be Friday at 4 o'clock in the Greenspun Auditorium. Lastly, we will have your Rebel Grad Slam t-shirts at that finals. So that's Friday the 4th. So this Friday the 4th at 4 p.m. in the Greenspun Auditorium, and at the finals reception, which will be at about 5 o'clock in the lobby there. So you can RSVP now. Let me put the RSVP in the chat here. So you can RSVP there if you plan to attend the finals or the reception. So we'll have a good head count. It is an amazing event, and the reception is always a blast as well. If you have any questions, you can reach out to your Grad Academy team, and have a great day. And congratulations to our winners. Again, thank you all for presenting, and thank you to our judges. We will see you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, everybody.
Hello and welcome. My name is Vinay Darakji, and I'm the Director of Communications and Marketing at the UNLV Graduate College, and I'm thrilled to welcome you to our 9th annual Rebel Grad Slam 3-minute thesis competition. The 3-minute thesis, or 3MT competition, was developed at the University of Queensland in Australia in 2008. It spread to other universities in Australia and New Zealand in 2009 and 2010. By 2011, the 3-minute competition phenomena had spread around the globe, and now more than 600 universities from more than 65 countries hold these competitions. In 2014, UNLV held its first 3MT, the Rebel Grad Slam, and this year is our 9th annual Research Rumble. The 3MT is a fantastic opportunity for students to learn how to convey who they are, what they study, why they study it, how they study it, what they found or expect to find, and why it matters to an audience of folks who are mostly outside their field. It is an opportunity to build public speaking and communication skills and to polish one's elevator speech describing what they study as graduate students. It's worth noting that our slammers come from all over campus and from a wide range of disciplines. Some are first-year students, some are in their final year, some slammers are master's students, others are advanced doctoral candidates. It's a diverse pool of 80 graduate students competing here this week. So today we have a group of UNLV graduate students who have been randomly assigned to compete in this preliminary session. Each will present their research in 3 minutes or less using one slide and no props. We will introduce each student and then start the timer. If a student goes over 3 minutes, they will be eliminated from the competition. Slammers are encouraged to pace themselves and use their 3 minutes without going over. It's not easy, but it's what the 3MT is all about. Slammers, please make sure to keep your microphone on mute and video off when other competitors are presenting. Only turn on your microphone and video when you are presenting. Please be sure to stay for the entire session, even after you are done presenting. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat in between presenters. Please don't use the chat during anyone's presentation as it may be distracting. You may sit or stand while presenting. You may also wear a mask while presenting. Judges will not penalize you for doing so. You only have 2 minutes and 59 seconds and 1 chance to compete. And please keep an eye on the timer in the bottom left corner of your screen. Once you begin speaking, we will start the timer and you will not be able to restart unless something beyond your control occurs. If you are presenting and your dog barks in the background, just keep presenting. Please don't stop unless I stop you. Don't worry though. If you lose Wi-Fi or are disconnected, please just join back in. We'll wait a minute for you and then go on to the next presenter. If that happens, you can redo your presentation at the end. And please remember that you may not read your presentation or use any notes on your screen or in front of you. Now let's turn our attention to the scoring for this Research Rumble. The judges will be assessing the competitors based on metrics which total 24 possible points in 4 major areas: comprehension, content, engagement, and communication. Each judge will independently score each competitor. Judges will not penalize competitors for wearing masks to present or for unanticipated disruptions that are beyond the slammer's control. At the end of the presentations, we will tally the judges' combined scores for each grad slammer and announce the winners right here live. The top 3 in the session will advance to the semifinals. I'd like to note that this round of the competition is happening live in WebEx and will be simultaneously aired live on the Graduate College's YouTube channel. And to give you a sense of this year's competition, 80 students are competing in the preliminary rounds. Around 36 will move on to the semifinals, and only about 9 will advance to the finals on Friday, November 4 at 4 p.m. So without further ado, let me introduce the judges, and then we'll get on with our 3MT Research Rumble. We have a set of very distinguished judges in today's session. They include Yingtao Jing from the College of Engineering at UNLV, Chris West from Universal Health Services, Kavita Batra from the UNLV School of Medicine, Kathleen Timpson from the School of Nursing, and Jennifer Stevens from the College of Liberal Arts. Welcome and thank you for serving as our distinguished panel of judges today. So we're ready to begin the competition. Our first presenter is Bailey Wei. Bailey is presenting on college students' attitudes toward condom use and pornography. Bailey is a PhD student in clinical psychology, and Bailey's advisor is Dr. Shane Krause. Go ahead, Bailey.
Hi everyone, today I'm here to discuss college students' attitudes towards condom use and pornography. Previous research has indicated that condom use is virtually absent in pornography videos, likely because of pornography producers' belief that condom use will ruin the sexual fantasy for viewers. Past studies have indicated that this impacts porn actors by having higher rates of STIs and impacts pornography viewers by being less likely to use condoms when having sex because they engage in condomless sex since it's seen as highly rewarding and desirable in pornography. So this is an important study because college students watch a lot of porn and that may be impacting their safe sex practices, including condom use. So I wanted to find out if college students were critical toward condom use and pornography, so not wanting to use condoms or not wanting condoms in the porn they watch. And if they were, what were the characteristics of those who were critical? So I administered the Pornography Actor Condom Use Attitudes Questionnaire, the one you see here, to 601 college students. The items in red, the students would rate from 0 to 100 how much they agreed with each statement. The items in red depict critical attitudes, and the items in black depict items that are supportive towards condom use and porn. The scale has been only used in one other sample of male college students. So I first validated the scale in both men and women. I found that overall participants were supportive of condom use and pornography and less critical than we expected. So that's good and kind of debunks porn producers' belief that people won't watch porn with condoms. Results indicated that men were more critical to condom use and porn, and women were more supportive of condom use and porn. Being more critical of condom use and porn was positively associated with viewing porn more frequently and for an increased duration, reporting more hookup partners, being less likely to use condoms while having sex. Condom critical attitude scores were negatively associated with age of first viewing porn. So all of this means is that people are supportive of condom use and porn. However, there are those that aren't tend to be male, view porn more often for a longer duration, have sex with more people, are less likely to use condoms when having sex, and view porn at the first time at a younger age. This is important because condom use is generally supported, and those that don't support it are engaging in risky sexual behavior. I hope that results from the current study will inform future policies and sex education surrounding pornography, as there is currently a push in sex education to provide pornography literacy. And that is my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bailey. Now we're going to give the judges a minute to score. Our next presenter is Amir Kashani, presenting on contact angle measurement on hydrogel. Amir is an engineering master's student working with Dr. Jeremy Cho. Go ahead, Amir.
Studies of surface and solid-liquid interactions have always been an important branch of science. Debates and rigorous discussion on the Young's contact angle and data interpretation have been ongoing in the surface literature for many decades. Surface is a very informative field that touches all facets of our lives. Fundamental understanding of interactions between the liquid droplet and solid surface, such as wetting, adhesion, spreading, and dewetting, is not only crucial to the science itself, but also of tremendous values to many seemingly unrelated applications. The notion of wettability was first described by Young 2 centuries ago. Wetting a solid surface by a liquid droplet can be quantitatively described from the profile of the liquid droplet, more specifically from the tangential angle at liquid surface air interface. This angle of contact theta is Young's angle or static contact angle. In Duncan lab, we prepared a fancy setup for studying different behavior of solid and liquid interface. You see here one of those setups for measurements of the contact angle. It contains 2 major parts, hardware and software. Hardware including dripping equipment for supplying droplets in different induced pressure, tubes and fitting, and camera as a kind of bridge between hardware and software. Software is LabVIEW interface, which has a wide range, powerful capability in analyzing experimental data. This programming tool acts on a block diagram which we define for capturing the images, process it through another language program that interacts with LabVIEW. This second tool is mathematical coding. During the image processing via mathematical, LabVIEW makes droplets on a solid surface in a different pressure by using a pressure indicator. There are many different adjustments features available for us during our measurements, as well as time lapse for measurements. We can expect a comprehensive explored data, such as these live plots shown here are part of a Dexter's tool could ameliorate our results accuracy for measurements of the contact angle. And thank you.
Thank you, Amir. Now we're going to give the judges a minute to score. Our next presenter is Michelle Nicole Janeo, presenting on examining medical students' use of social support as a resource to combat burnout. Michelle is a master's student in couple and family therapy, working with advisor Dr. Brandon Eddy. Go ahead, Michelle.
Medical school is one book in the Library of Physicians' Lives. The findings from this study help us understand how the healthcare hero's journey is written. Students begin with an optimistic perception of their health with meaningful career goals. Yet, as they progress through their training, 45% will meet criteria for burnout. Burnout is a state of being emotionally disconnected from others, emotionally depleted, and a lost sense of recognizing that one's work is valuable. The purpose of this study was to be able to develop a theory that explains how medical students use social support to cope with burnout. Using a qualitative method called grounded theory, we were able to discover 5 themes that give insight into what makes social support a key factor in burnout recovery. Theme 1, the perception of utility. The importance of social support was described as an effective coping tool utilized in different capacities. In theory, being confined in a silo of medicine-related experiences activates the perception of isolation, which manifested symptoms of burnout, which led to Theme 2, the impact of burnout signaling the need for help. The motivation to reach out to others was attributed to realizing that making an effort and sharing in the experience of burnout allowed them to contextualize their feelings and work through the stress. Theme 3, support from entities outside of the program, so family, friends, and partners, was significant in that it reminded participants of their intrinsic value despite the hardships. It was more helpful when this social group took the initiative to offer support with words of encouragement, validation, and instrumental support. Theme 4, peer support was the most dynamic, woven within the pages and chapters of all their shared experiences of self-doubt and triumph, as it both held value and burdens. Peers are a reliable soundboard for professional and personal growth by providing accountability and emotional support with expressions of empathy. The caveat to sharing only stress-related content with peers was that it perpetuated the burnout cycle. Furthermore, peer dynamics began to shift from camaraderie to competition, which altered the perception of the relationships with their peers. Theme 5, faculty and program resources are the bindings that hold everything together. The cultural environment is the foundation that influences the perception of wellness as a priority. Guidance from faculty serves as a stepping stone that allowed them to become successful in the progress of their careers. The process of maintaining social connectedness within these various social groups functions as a means for continuous coping, thus disrupting the burnout cycle. Those results from this study will help us write a different ending for medical students and the future of our healthcare workforce.
Thank you, Michelle. Our next presenter couldn't be here with us today, so for the judges, if you can please just mark a score of, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, we're gonna give the judges a minute to do the scoring for Michelle, so sorry. Okay, we're going to try this again. So our next presenter could not be here with us today. So for the judges, if you could just mark a score of 1 on each section and then move on to the next page, please. Our next presenter is Robert Cochran, presenting on the Parkinson's Prison and Your Story to Escape. Robert is a PhD candidate in interdisciplinary health sciences, working with Dr. James Navalta. Go ahead, Robert.
Parkinson's disease is a prison, and isolation is a killer, not just for the people with Parkinson's, but for all of us. And the problem is that we don't understand the story of why that is. The odds are, if you don't have Parkinson's in your life, either personally or within your family, you probably will. It's growing at that fast of a rate. Parkinson's disease is the fastest growing neurological disease in the world. The prevalence rates jumped from 1990 to 2015, doubling. They're going to double again by 2040 if we don't do something about that. The leading researchers in the Parkinson's world, they say that this is a pandemic. And you know when they said that? They said that in February of 2020. So one pandemic beat out the other in the news cycle. But the facts haven't changed. It's still the fastest growing neurodegenerative disease in the world. The problem is how it's perceived. If you only think of Parkinson's as an old person's disease, you might miss the fact that, well, not only is it sad that older people get it, you think, oh, well, that's for, aging and illness go together. But what if I told you that 50% rise for people under 50 is what's happening now? In other words, younger people are getting it, and they're going to live for decades with Parkinson's. And those people have a serious long road in front of them that can be very, very painful. It's a current cost of $52 billion a year for lost wages and medical expenses for people with Parkinson's. But that doesn't tell the whole story. What does having Parkinson's feel like? You may know words like anxiety and stress, isolation, depression. Those are words and they're important, but they don't convey the story. Now, why is story important? Because we're neurologically hardwired as human beings to understand story. We're driven by story. In fact, Brene Brown, who's a storytelling researcher, said that stories are data with soul. So if we're going to understand the story, that's what we did in the first part of my dissertation. This thing you're looking at right here is the hero's journey, which is Joseph Campbell's story of how we tell stories. From the beginning of time, he studied stories across all cultures and geographies and different time periods. So we're telling basically the same story. And he broke them down into steps. So we laid that against people with Parkinson's stories to help them understand how do they feel about having Parkinson's. From the ordinary world to when they didn't have Parkinson's, the call to adventure when they were diagnosed, the refusal of the call, the denial because frankly, nobody wants to have Parkinson's, but when the truth is accepted that they have Parkinson's, greater understanding comes in that place. And what they found over time in this program was there were increases in confidence, communication, creativity, the ability to tell their story to help researchers get better data points so that they could know where to look in the future to help us all break out of the Parkinson's prison.
Thank you, Robert. Now we'll give the judges a minute to score. Our next presenter is Cecilia Turman, presenting on evaluating an educational field trip program to inspire girls in STEM. Cecilia is a student in the Graduate Certificate and Program Evaluation and Assessment Program, supervised by Dr. Tiberio Garza. Go ahead, Cecilia.
Good morning to everyone. And my name is Cecilia Turman. Thank you for announcing me. And I'm a senior doctoral scholar. I also participate in December. I will be participating in December commencement to receive the graduate certificate in the program evaluation and assessment. Yes, Dr. Tiberio Garza, he supervised my first evaluation for Cinema Learning Challenge that I call it's a CLT, that became a program to inspire underrepresented CCSD middle school girls to follow a STEM career dominated by male. I created a logic model for the program after interviewing the stakeholders and defined their inputs. So on the yellow that you can read inputs, below there are all stakeholders for the program. So on the side of it, it is the outputs and through the activities and participation in the program. And then you see the outcomes, which are the consequence of their participation. So they are short, medium, and long term. So the short outcomes, they will determine how we are doing at the moment, and is going to design and describe what is coming next. And then for the long term, there are things that we plan to expand the market to other places, other countries. So the CRC works with award-winning and inspirational movies. Classroom resources supports content standards presented to teachers, students, and chaperones as they book a field trip to watch an educational movie at the theater. The most popular is the CLC field trip, is the Girls in STEAM package, which is funded by grants and organized by CCSD Career and Technology, the CTE. This program started in 2017 for local groups on weekdays morning, and since 2018, it moved to an upscale concierge-style 4K cinema showing first-run movies and independent films. We get about 50 to 100 middle school students and their teachers pull up in buses. They are greeted and go to sit at the auditorium and start the morning learning from a giant screen. An expert with a cool lesson introduces the HD films about space exploration history and begins to the history that is going to be made from NASA and what we want to discover in space. While they are doing hands-on origami, they are launching, and then there are some question and answers prizes at the end. The experience is beyond the classroom that inspires girls into a career in STEAM and more other careers, depending on the movie. The mixed methods evaluation was when CLC launched in Las Vegas by 2018-19, and about 1,400 students have already participated. During 2019-20, 2020, the number almost doubled to 2,403 students. 959 were part of the free field trip donated by the venue, the Galaxy Theater, and Big and Digital. 1,444 were part of the CCSD Girls in STEAM groups until February, when all schools got into the lockdown. The 42 schools and 240 teachers were impacted. Data collection was drawn from feedback administered by teachers before and after the field trips for both CCSD and CLC. The sample group included 48 middle school females from an urban school representing diverse backgrounds. So they fill up the feedback when they were coming to the movie theater and pre and post the experience. So as you can see in this, in my poster, there is Laureen from Channel 13, and she came to evaluate as well, and they put it on TV. We got a big number of happy middle school girls at the Galaxy Theater. They totally love. And as you can see on the top, that is 2019 and 2020 when we finished at the beginning and then after. So there was a 5 Likert scale, and that the first two is I strongly agree, and I agree to follow a career in STEAM.
Thank you, Cecilia. Now we'll give the judges a minute to score. Our final presenter is Deyanira Lopez, presenting on the Post-Mortem Agency of Undocumented Migrants, Potential Risks with Applying a Structural Vulnerability Framework in Forensic Anthropology. Deyanira is a PhD student in anthropology, working with Dr. Jennifer Burns. Go ahead, Deyanira.
Along the US-Mexico border, thousands of Latin American individuals have lost their lives in search of a better future, leaving behind several family members and loved ones asking themselves, what happened? Did they make it? Are they okay? For those of them who did not make it and are labeled as unidentified, their bodies lie in unmarked graves waiting to one day be reunited with their families. Forensic anthropology is the study of human skeletal remains and their intersection with the criminal justice system. And the job of a forensic anthropologist is to help in the identification of unknown remains by telling a story of who the individual was and where they came from. And I'd like to draw special attention to where an individual came from, which is a concept that we discuss as ancestry. And specifically considering individuals of Latin American ancestry, forensic anthropologists continue to struggle with accurately estimating where these individuals are from, and so we end up lumping them into this broad umbrella label of Hispanic, which does not consider an individual's ethnic or cultural identity or their lived experiences. So we're trying to develop and expand upon existing methods to more accurately estimate ancestry. However, some of those methods pose problems that do require ethical consideration. For example, data that is routinely collected in the investigation of skeletal remains to aid in identification is being uploaded into forensic databases that use unidentified individuals to compare to identified individuals and try to estimate ancestry by grouping them into groups of geographic origin. However, the problem lies that the data that is collected from these remains, we do not have the consent of the loved ones of these individuals or of them themselves to be able to use this data. And thus we are creating samples of convenience to try to improve our own science. And we must remember that only because we can does not mean that we should. Additionally, we should be very careful in using non-specific skeletal markers of nutritional and developmental stress in estimating ancestry by trying to explore a cause and effect relationship when we may not truly know the origins of those markers. Individuals who demonstrate these markers can come from all around the world, and as we know, structural vulnerability is not unique to Latin America. And so by using these methods, we are inherently continuing categorization of human diversity and also encouraging structural barriers that hinder their possible identification. As the voices of these individuals, we must act within the highest ethical standards. And so we recommend the elimination of the use of structural vulnerability frameworks for estimating ancestry, and rather encourage anthropologists to promote postmortem agency for these individuals and their families. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining us for our preliminary round, and a special thank you to the Grad Academy team who made this 3MT event possible. And now please stay tuned. We'll let the judges do their final scoring and we'll announce winners live in just a few minutes.
I just have a question here. So I'm the judge here. I used a different forms. Can I just send this form to you guys, or what am I supposed to do?
What form did you use?
The form you just sent to me, I just downloaded them. Actually, they're local. I don't know whether I can use an online form to submit the scores or.
So we sent over the rubric just as an example, but then we sent the Google form. If you just did it on the PDF, can you just email it to me and I'll add it in?
Can you just send me your email address, please?
Yes.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Dr. Jing,
Yeah.
can you hear me? I got two of the same scores for one person. I didn't receive a score. If you can look at your chat and just type it in there for me, please.
Oh, Ellie? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we are back. So while only the top 3 winners of this round will progress to the semifinals, you will all be winners of a Rebel Grad Slam t-shirt, which you can pick up during the Rebel Grad Slam finals reception on Friday, November 4. For the preliminary rounds, the first place winner receives $300, second place receives $200, and third place receives $100. So here are the winners of today's preliminary session. In third place, we have Michelle Janelle. In second place, Deyanira Lopez. And in first place, Robert Cochran. Congratulations to all the winners, and thank you again to all the presenters for your participation and for all the judges. Please join us for the semifinal round on Thursday, November 3rd at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 1:30 p.m. in the Student Union Philip J. Cohen Theater, and for the final round on Friday, November 4 at 4 p.m. in the Greenspun Auditorium. And just a reminder for all the presenters, we will have your Rebel Grad Slam t-shirts available at the finals reception at 5 p.m. in the Greenspun lobby on Friday. And I will paste a link to RSVP in the chat. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to the judges, the presenters, and the team for making this event possible. Have a great day.
And we're live.
Hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Emily Lin, and I'm the Associate Dean of the Graduate College. I am thrilled to welcome you to our 9th annual Rebel Grad Slam 3-minute thesis competition. The 3-minute thesis, or 3MT competition model, was developed at the University of Queensland in Australia in 2008. It spread to other universities in Australia and New Zealand in 2009 and 2010. By 2011, the 3MT competition phenomena had spread around the globe, and now more than 600 universities from more than 65 countries hold this competition. In 2014, UNLV held our first 3MT, the Rebel Grad Slam, and this year is our 9th annual Research Rumble. The 3MT is a fantastic opportunity for students to learn how to convey who they are, what they study, why they study it, how they study it, and what they found or expect to find, and why it matters to an audience of folks who are mostly outside of their field. It is an opportunity to build public speaking and communication skills, and also to polish one's elevator speech describing what they study as graduate students. It's worth noting that our slammers come from all over campus and from a wide range of disciplines. Some are first-year students, some are in their final year, some slammers are master's students, while others are advanced doctoral candidates. It's really a diverse pool of 80 graduate students competing here this week. So today, we have a group of UNLV graduate students who have been randomly assigned to compete in this preliminary session. Each will present their research in 3 minutes or less, using just one slide and no props. We will introduce each student and then start the timer. And if a student goes over 3 minutes, they will be eliminated from the competition, unfortunately. Slammers are encouraged to pace themselves and use their 3 minutes without going over. It's really not easy, but it's what the 3MT is all about. So just some reminders for the slammers to please make sure to keep your microphone on mute and video off when others competitors are presenting. Only turn on your microphone and video when you are presenting. Please be sure to stay for the entire session, even after you are done presenting. And if you have any questions, please type them in the chat in between presenters, but please don't use chat during anyone's presentations, as it may be distracting. You may sit or you may stand while presenting. You may also wear a mask while presenting, and the judges will not penalize you for doing so. Remember that you only have 2 minutes and 59 seconds, and only one chance to compete. And please keep your eye on the timer at the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Once you begin speaking, we will start the timer, and you will not be able to restart unless something beyond your control occurs. If you are presenting and let's say your dog barks in the background, just keep presenting. Please do not stop unless I stop you. Don't worry though, if you lose your Wi-Fi or are disconnected, please just join back in. We'll wait a minute for you and then go on to the next presenter. If that happens, you can redo your presentation at the end. And please remember that you may not read your presentation or use any notes on the screen or in front of you. Now, let's turn our attention to the scoring for this research rumble. The judges will be assessing the competitors based on metrics which total 24 possible points in 4 major areas. They include comprehension, content, engagement, and communication. Each judge will independently score each competitor. Judges will not penalize competitors for wearing masks to present or for unanticipated disruptions that are beyond the slammer's control. At the end of the presentations, we will tally the judges' combined scores for each grad slammer and announce the winners right here, live today. The top 3 in this session will advance to the semifinals. I'd like to note that this round of the competition is happening live in WebEx and will be simultaneously aired live on the Graduate College YouTube channel. And to give you a sense of this year's competition, we do have 80 students who are competing in the preliminary rounds. Around 36 students will move forward onto the semifinals, and only about 9 will advance to the finals, which will be held this Friday, November the 4th at 4 p.m. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the judges, and then we'll get on with our 3MT Research Rumble. We have a set of very distinguished judges in today's session, and they include Robert Rippey, who is our Executive Director of UNLV Blackfire Innovation Hub and UNLV Incubator. We do have Nicholas Irwin, who's Assistant Professor in Economics in our Lee Business School. We have Jessica Eminen, who is also an assistant professor in biomedical sciences in the School of Dental Medicine. We have Maggie Farrell, who is the dean of our university libraries at UNLV here. We do also have Robert Moretti, who is an MBA graduate with us, and he is one of our valued persons in our Graduate College Dean's leadership. And we also have Associate Professor in Residence, Allison Sloat, who is in the College of Sciences. So we are thrilled that you're able to help us rate and work with our participants today. So welcome and thank you for serving as judges today. So we're ready to begin the competition, and our first presenter will be William Ingleson. William is currently in a master's program in communication studies, and he has his advisor, Dr. Rebecca Rice. And so he is presenting Flying the Unfriendly Skies, the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on flight crew communication. So whenever you can start, we'll start the timer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Lin, for the fabulous introduction. Again, as Dr. Lin said, my name is Will, and I am a Master's of Arts student in Communication Studies, studying organizational communication rhetoric. So from there, I think we can all relate to being on a flight with a screaming child and a parent that maybe is also screaming and fussing right along and maybe trying to slip some aspirin over to them. But a thing that we really haven't analyzed and researched within the field of organizational communication studies is looking at the effect of passenger misbehaviors as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So as an organizational communication scholar, I look at organizations as communicatively constructed and looking at how the communication methodologies influence the folks that display rules and display emotions within the workplace. So specifically on board an aircraft, this is quite a different occupational scenario and environment than many working professionals today. So I am specifically studying the emotional labor, emotional management, and emotional displays of flight crew communication and on board the aircraft as with passenger misbehaviors, and looking at the influence of the COVID-19 pandemic on emotional exhaustion of flight crew members. So to give you a little bit of a reference point, by 2030, if we keep up with the current travel demands and travel growth that is expected to occur, we are going to have a pilot shortage alone of 14,500 positions every year until 2030. As we saw in last summer, this can influence a lot of flight cancellations of up to 550 flight cancellations and 5,000 flight delays just here in the United States, as well as also aiding in crew fatigue and causing a lot of abnormalities in terms of flight crew performance. So within flight crew incidents and whatnot, we have image 1, which is displaying the incident of Asiana Flight 214, where flight crew fatigue was noticed and cited as a primary concern of the incident. And image number 2, we have a graph of the amount of passenger misbehavior incidents that were reported amongst the COVID-19 pandemic, again, looking from 2000 to 2019, and we see that giant spike occurring and then dropping back down. So between just the 1 month of when the mask mandate and the zero tolerance mask mandate of 2020 was implemented, there was over 7,000 cases of passenger misbehavior that was reported just in 1 month, as opposed to the 1,000 cases that were reported within the first quarter of 2022. So a lot of really not great things going on. And this study is also informed by a qualitative study that I conducted in March of 2022 this year. So looking at the effects of that and the emotional labor and intensity, I seek to understand and make measurable implications on crew fatigue and understanding why recruiting efforts for flight crews needs to be rampant and also improved so we have enough pilots and flight crew members for the flights of tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much, William. And at this time, we're going to allow the judges some time to record their ratings. Okay, and we're on to the next presenter, Hiramda Kumar, and she will present about hospital-acquired diseases She is currently in the MPH program in public health, and her advisor is Dr. Patricia Cruz. All right, so whenever you're ready.
Hi everyone. So have you ever heard phrases like always wash your hands or change your clothes after a hospital visit? Let me tell you reason behind it. It is because of hospital acquired diseases. So hospital environment contains tons of microorganisms that can cause infections, no matter if it's an adult or older or a kid. And according to CDC, 1.7 million hospitalized patients annually acquire these infections while being treated for other health issues. And now you may ask why I am focusing on hospital acquired diseases. It's because hospitals impose huge risk for multi-drug resistance, which means resistance to multiple drugs. And in hospital settings, patients are exposed to various antibiotics. And more often, if someone uses antibiotics, there is a more chance of getting resistance. So these resistance germs are prevalent in hospitals. So why does all matter? Because we use antibiotics not to only cure diseases, but to safely facilitate surgeries, chemotherapy, or organ transplant. And without antibiotics, even routinely medical procedures can be life-threatening. And this can cause huge problem for patients with chronic diseases, older generation, and can also increase the chances of long stays in hospital. And the last important thing, now imagine if we become resistant to currently existing antibiotics, then we will have to invent new antibiotic drugs. For example, penicillin, an antibiotic, which is widely used drug to treat multiple infections. But is it easy to replace penicillin, which we have been using since 1928? The answer is no, right? So that's why my future study will detect antibiotic infection in shared equipments in hospital between patients, such as wheelchair, blood pressure cuffs, stethoscopes, and that's how we can know how shared equipments play a role in transmission of disease. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prayamda. And at this time, we will have judges do the scoring. Okay, thank you, judges. We are now ready to move on to our next slammer. It will be Dustin Davis, and he will be presenting on outside looking in, connecting to oneself and nature through green exercise. He's currently a PhD candidate in interdisciplinary health sciences, working with his advisor, Dr. James Navalta. So whenever you're ready to begin, Dustin.
Being outside looking in usually means feeling excluded and disconnected. But the outside looking in that I'm talking about is different. It's about being present and connecting with ourselves. A wonderful place to do this is nature, especially green space. And green space is just any place, natural or human-made, that has greenery. So kind of like Mount Charleston in picture 1. It has green grass, shrubs, and trees. One of the ways to get more green space in your life is to exercise there. And this is called green exercise. The prevailing hypothesis is that green exercise connects us to nature, and because of that, boosts happiness while reducing stress, anxiety, and depression. But I had this thought, could some of those benefits come from green exercise, helping us connect with ourselves? One of the ways we measure connection with ourselves is mindfulness. And I like to describe mindfulness with the acronym MAMA, or M-A-M-A, which you can see at number 2. Maintaining awareness moment by moment with acceptance. It's a deliberate practice of being present with and non-judgmental of our thoughts, feelings, and sensations. Like green exercise, regularly practicing mindfulness reduces stress, anxiety, and depression. So with all this in mind, I had this thought at number 3, does green exercise also increase mindfulness or help us connect to ourselves? And to test this, I had 42 participants come to a trail in Utah or a park in Nevada, and you can see that trailhead at number 4. Participants filled out questionnaires about how mindful they were and how connected in nature they were, and then went and found a place to sit quietly for 10 minutes undisturbed. They filled out those same questionnaires a second time, and then walked through the green space for 10 minutes and filled out the questionnaires a third and final time. The results of the study are shown in the line chart on the right, and they're really exciting. The top line is connectedness to nature, and the bottom line is mindfulness. What these data show is that from before sitting to after sitting, and from after sitting to after walking, participants reported feeling more in tune with their surroundings, so the nature, and also themselves. And this is really exciting and something I want to expand on with my next study. I've developed a mindful walking program that blends walking through nature with mindfulness meditation, with the goal of seeing how this affects this idea at number 5, which is undergraduate students' well-being and mental health. What we know is that undergraduate students suffer from stress, anxiety, and depression more than any other group in the United States. And so what I hope to find with my next study is the first evidence we'll have that mindful walking through nature may be a free, widely accessible, and self-directed form of therapy for the people in this country who need it most. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dustin. And you know what time it is. It's for judges to do their scoring. Okay, now we have our next slammer, Mohsen Jahadatus, and his project is looking at degradation in thin film solar cells. He is in the PhD program in mechanical engineering in the College of Engineering, and his advisor is Dr. Shabra Banzel. So whenever you're ready, Mohsen.
Hello everyone, my name is Mohsen Jahandardoust, a PhD student in mechanical engineering, and I will talk about the degradation in thin film solar cells. How many of you believe that the global warming is an issue? As many of you may agree with me, the global warming is a big issue today, and renewable energy provides the best solution for this problem. Among the different types of the renewable energy, solar energy is the most reliable and available source of the electricity production. Thin film solar cells are the most promising technology because they are lightweight and they can be printed in different materials and flexible materials, so we can use them in space missions and also electric cars. But there's a stability issue with the current solar cells. We expect from the solar panels to keep their performance for at least 25 years. But with the combination of the solar radiation, heat, and voltage bias, they start to degrade and their electricity production goes down. So what we are doing, to understand the mechanism of this degradation, we performed several tests to simulate the outdoor condition, and with the characteristic measurements, we found the source of this degradation. Next, we manipulated the nanostructure of the solar cells, and we successfully stopped the degradation. Now, we have a solar cell that is high performance and stable enough to provide the electricity up to 25 years. Our next step is to expand this time beyond the 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mohsen. And our judges now will do the scoring for you. Thanks. Okay, now for our next slammer, Daniela Amoroso, and she will be presenting Mental Health in Schools, a Bridge Between US and Brazil. She is currently an MED student in the School of Counseling, and her advisor is Dr. Heather Dahl. So whenever you're ready, Daniela.
I want to invite you to my hometown in São Paulo, Brazil. That's the place that I grew up and that I studied my entire life. Recently, a friend of mine, who is also an elementary school teacher in São Paulo, shared with me that while she was studying, teaching her students about mental health, about global warming, 2 of her students started crying. Soon enough, almost the entire classroom was crying because they were feeling scared about global warming. She couldn't handle the classroom and she had to ask for help. Now, I invite you to think. Do you believe they were crying because global warming is scary? Or do you believe they were crying because they did not have the emotional skills needed to face a situation of stress? If your answer is the second option, then I agree with you. In the state of São Paulo, we have 3.5 million of students, and recent research showed that 69% of them are in need of mental health. And that's because we don't talk about mental health within our schools in Brazil. If we had a school counselor in that situation where students are freaking out about global warming, the school counselor would be the one that would address this problem. Right now, I'm working on becoming a school counselor myself, and my main goal is to study mental health within our schools in Brazil. I want to know, if we had mental health programs, would we improve students' outcome? Would they have better achievement, better attendance? Would they improve their social emotional skills? In order to answer this question, I plan on having one model school in Brazil and implement something similar to what we call comprehensive school counseling program. This program is a tool used here in the United States by school counselors in order to define a problem that a school might be facing, deliver an action plan, manage this plan, and then assess the student's outcome to know if this plan is working or not. Of course, I will consider the cultural aspects of my country while implementing this comprehensive school counseling program. But if I can prove that mental health within schools matter, then my next step will be to advocate for this profession in my country. I truly believe that students should be learning about themselves while they're learning about the world. And you may be asking, why should we care about this right now? And my answer to you is, mental health is a global concern. And we have the tools here in the United States to fight this battle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danella. And right now, we'll ask the judges to do their scoring. Okay, so for our next slammer is Shikar Singh. He will be looking at facial expression recognition using generative adversarial networks. He is currently a PhD student in computer science, and he's working with advisor Dr. Fatma Nazov. So whenever you're ready, Shikar.
Hello everyone, my name is Shekhar Singh. Today I will talk about the facial expression recognition using generative adversarial networks. In 1971, Albert Maharabian published a book called Silent Messages, where he showed that the only 7% is the verbal communication and rest of the 93% is the non-verbal communications. The emotions are the powerful tool in the social communications. Why the facial expressions are important? It's a very powerful and a challenging task in a social communication. That's why we are teaching computers to read facial expressions. Let's talk about the background. In 1862, there was a French neurologist who always wanted to understand how the face muscles work to produce facial expressions. He believed that the facial expressions linked to the human souls. He used electric probes to determine that. Later, in 1872, Charles Darwin used his work and introduced in his book called The Expressions of Emotion in Man and Animals. Let's talk about my research. This dataset contains 7 different emotions: angry, disgust, fear, happy, sad, surprised, and neutral. This dataset is publicly available and have human face images. Nowadays, we are facing issue with the dataset which are publicly available, have a limited amount of images. To overcome this issue, we introduced the generative adversarial networks. In short, we say GANs. GANs contains two different neural networks. One is generator and another is discriminator. The neural network is basically resembles like a human brain. It's a very complex. The generator, it works to produce a fake images, whereas discriminators works to detect whether the image is a real or a fake. Both the generator and the discriminator neural network compete with each other. Nowadays, like, the GANs started in 2014, and still we are over the year we are using the GANs to producing more real and a more high definition image as we can see in the image. But what if I say these two peoples doesn't exist, isn't it? It looks like very real. GANs can be used in very vast domains. The companies are using in very vast domains. Like Adobe is using the next generation Photoshop, IBM using GANs for data augmentation, Google is using GANs for the text generations, and Snapchat and TikTok using GANs for the image filters, and Disney is using GANs for the super resolution images. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shakar. And thank you so much for joining us for this preliminary round. A special thank you to the Graduate Academy team who have made this 3MT event possible. What we like to ask you now is to please stay tuned. Our judges are doing the final scoring for the last slammer, and we will tally up the scores, and we will make the announcement of the winners live in a few minutes. So please stay tuned for that. Please remember that while only the top 3 winners of this round will progress to the semifinals, you will all be winners because all of the competitors will receive a Rebel Grad Slam t-shirt. And all the slammers can pick up the t-shirt during our Rebel Grad Slam finals receptions. And for those who make it to the semifinals round, first place winner will get $600. Second place winners will get $400, while the third place winners will get $200. So please stay tuned. We will have the winners in just a moment. Thanks. All right, the suspense is just weighing on us. And are you ready for the winners that will advance to the semi-final session? Our third place winner was Shakar Singh. So congratulations, you are going on to the semifinals. Our second place slammer is Danella Amoroso. So congratulations, you're our second place slammer that's going on to semifinals. And our first place contestant today was Dustin Davis. So congratulations, you're moving on to the semifinals. Thanks again for your participation, everyone. Please join us for the semifinal rounds on Thursday, November the 3rd at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and 1:30 p.m. in the Student Union, Philip J. Cohen Theater. And the finals, remember, it's this Friday, November the 4th at 4 o'clock in the Greenspun Auditorium. And lastly, we will have your Rebel Grad Slam t-shirt available at the finals receptions at the Greenspun lobby. And if you would like to pick it up, I am posting for you in the chat the RSVP link. So if you can please take a moment to get that on your schedule so you can pick up the t-shirt. So once again, congratulations, everybody. Thank you so much, judges, for your participation. Hope you have a great afternoon. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care.
I think we're live, Emily.
Thanks. Okay, hello and welcome. My name is Dr. Emily Lin, and I'm the Associate Dean of the Graduate College. I'm thrilled to welcome you to our 9th annual Rebel Grad Slam 3-minute thesis competition. The 3-minute thesis, or 3MT competition model, was developed at the University of Queensland in Australia in 2018. It spread to other universities in Australia and New Zealand in 2009 and 2010. And by 2011, the 3MT competition phenomena had spread around the globe, and now more than 600 universities from more than 65 countries hold this competition. In 2014, UNLV held our first 3MT, the Rebel Grad Slam, and this year is our 9th annual Research Rumble. The 3MT is a fantastic opportunity for students to learn how to convey who they are, what they study, why they study it, how they study it, what they've found or expect to find, and why it matters to an audience of folks who are mostly outside of their field. It's an opportunity to build public speaking and communication skills and to polish one's elevator speech describing what they study as graduate students. It's worth noting that our slammers come from all over campus and from a wide range of disciplines. Some are first-year students and some are in their final year. Some slammers are master's students, others are advanced doctoral candidates. It's a diverse pool of 80 graduate students competing here this week. So today, we have a group of UNLV graduate students who have been randomly assigned to compete in this preliminary session. Each will present their research in 3 minutes or less using one slide and no props. We will introduce each student and then start the timer. If a student goes over 3 minutes, they will be eliminated from the competition, unfortunately. Slammers are encouraged to pace themselves and use 3 minutes without going over. It certainly is not easy, but it's what the 3MT is all about. And I'd just like to remind slammers, please make sure to keep your microphone on mute and video off when other competitors are presenting. Only turn on your microphone and video when you are presenting. Please be sure to stay for the entire session, even after you are done presenting. If you have any questions, please type them in the in-chat box in between presenters, but please do not use chat during anyone's presentation, as this might cause some distraction. You may sit or stand while presenting. You may also wear a mask while presenting, but the judges will not penalize you for doing so. Remember, you only have 2 minutes and 59 seconds and 1 chance to compete. And please keep an eye on the timer in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. Once you begin speaking, we will start the timer and you will not be able to restart, unless something beyond your control occurs. If you are presenting, let's say, and your dog barks in the background, please just keep continuing to present. Please don't stop unless I stop you. But please don't worry though, if you lose Wi-Fi or are disconnected somehow, please just join back in and we'll wait a minute for you and then we'll go on to the next presenter. So if this happens, you can redo your presentation at the end. And please remember that you may not read your presentation or use any notes on your screen or in front of you. Now let's turn our attention to the scoring for this research rumble. The judges will be assessing the competitors based on metrics which total 24 possible points in 4 major areas. That includes comprehension, content, engagement, and communication. Each judge will independently score each competitor. Judges will not penalize competitors for wearing masks to present or for unanticipated disruptions that are beyond the slammer's control. At the end of the presentation, we will tally the judges' combined score for each grad slammer and announce the winner right here live. The top 3 in this session will advance to the semifinals. I'd like to note that this round of the competition is happening live in WebEx, and also it's simultaneously aired right now live on the Graduate College YouTube channel. And to give you a sense of this year's competition, we have 80 students who are competing in the preliminary rounds, and around 36 will move on to the semifinals, and only about 9 will advance to the finals, which will be held this Friday on November the 4th at 4 p.m. So without further ado, let me introduce the judges, and then we'll get on with our 3MT Research Rumble. We have a set of very distinguished judges in today's session. And I am going to introduce them right now. We first have Caitlin DiBenedetto, who is a former alum of UNLV. She's currently a program manager at the Marine Geo Program Smithsonian Environmental Research Center in Washington, D.C. We also have Samuel Song, who is a professor in the Counselor Education, School Psychology, and Human Services Department in the College of Education. We have Victoria Mitchell, who is the Associate Director of Career and Professional Development in the Lee Business School. We also have Rebecca Banfield, who is the Director of the PhD Nursing Program here in School of Nursing at UNLV. Joining us as another judge is Jennifer Stevens, who is a part-time instructor in sociology for the College of Liberal Arts. And last but not least, welcome Ella Kiko, who is a Graduate Affairs Coordinator in the Dean's Office in the College of Sciences. So welcome, judges, and thank you so much for serving as our distinguished panel of judges today. So we're ready to begin the competition, and our first presenter is going to be Nicole Tangoy. She is going to be presenting on women, trauma, and incarceration, an ethnographic study. She is currently an MS student in the Clinical Mental Health Counseling Program, and her advisor is Dr. Wendy Hoskins. So whenever you're ready, Nicole, you may begin.
Women, trauma, and incarceration. Rarely are these three words discussed as they relate to one another, yet women have become the fastest growing incarcerated population in the country. And this made me wonder, what is happening here? I'd like to share a story with you about a girl I know named Ashley. Ashley was addicted to meth by the time she was 11. At 13, she became a prostitute and was living on the streets by the time she was 14. In order to survive, she began shoplifting and was in and out of jail multiple times. Once released, she would always continue her life back on the streets, which included being raped, assaulted at gunpoint, and sex trafficked. The trauma she experienced was so overwhelming, she didn't know how to cope or live a normal life. At 23, she was caught using fraudulent credit cards and given a 6-year prison sentence. Ashley's story is not unique. In fact, 84% of women who are currently incarcerated are in prison for nonviolent crimes, and when interviewed, reported physical, sexual, and emotional abuse in both their formative years and adulthood, as well as higher rates of mental illness and addiction problems. I became interested in this research topic because I understand firsthand what it's like to experience trauma, which then directly contributed to my incarceration. While in prison, my research began through behavioral observation, especially paying attention to how women interacted with one another in this environment. After hundreds of observations at 3 different prison facilities, I was able to identify distinct patterns in certain women, which prompted me to begin a series of semi-structured interviews over the course of 2 years. What I found to be the most compelling piece of data was that 94% of the stories I heard had one similar characteristic. They all had experienced trauma, which led them down a dark path that resulted in a prison sentence. 94%. In prison, we're offered certain programs that aid in the rehabilitation process. However, what I discovered was that there weren't any specific programs that address the types of trauma that are unique to women and as it relates to the prison experience. Prison is a traumatizing place, and then add the extra layer of trauma that women experience prior to incarceration, and it's no wonder that many of them end up returning back to prison after release. As the population of women who are incarcerated continues to grow, so does the need to utilize programming that is gender responsive and trauma informed, as this is helpful for women in emotional, mental, and physical aspects to be the most effective in treating this population. An unacknowledged trauma is like a wound that never heals over and may start to bleed again at any time. If women are able to change their trauma narrative prior to release, they have the best chance of living a healthy and fulfilling life post-incarceration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And at this time, I invite the judges to do their scoring. Okay, thanks. And next we have Richard Chang, who will be presenting on exploring race as a moderator of the relationship between the stigma of illegality and psychological distress. Currently, Richard is in the PhD program in psychological and brain sciences, and he is advised by Dr. Gloria Wong Pandagot, and you may begin at any time then, Richard.
In 2016, Donald Trump called Mexicans rapists, criminals, and drug dealers. During COVID-19, he labeled the coronavirus the Chinese virus and the Kung flu. Because of his racist rhetoric, certain racial groups may be perceived as more foreign and less American. Therefore, I am examining how race predicts is a condition for the stigma of illegality and psychological distress. When individuals were asked to rate certain racial groups as less American or more foreign, Latinx and Asian Americans were rated as more foreign, less American compared to white and Black Americans. Given the discourse around immigration, I predict that for Latinx individuals, the stigma of illegality will be linked to more psychological distress, but not for whites and Asians. So to test this hypothesis, we surveyed over 150 participants, and we found that the stigma of illegality did predict psychological distress, but we were not sure if race was a significant factor in this relationship. We found that regardless of race, the stigma of illegality did not predict psychological distress. To dig deeper, we compared Latinx and Asian Americans with white Americans and found that Latinx Americans and Asian Americans showed similar rates of perceived stigma of illegality. However, it did not predict more psychological distress, such as depression, anxiety, and stress. Furthermore, given the rhetoric around immigration, we also found that for Latinx individuals and Asian Americans, Latinx individuals were rated as more illegal and foreign. And so given the data and the results, we argue that the language around illegality and foreignness should be changed, and that we should see all individuals as whole human beings.
Great, thank you so much, Richard. And at this time, the judges will do the scoring. Okay, next slammer, we have Andrea Coro Rodriguez, and she will be presenting on lessons learned, a systematic review on the relationship between resilience and mental health among immigrants with precarious status in the United States and Canada. She is currently in the Master of Social Work, and her advisor is Dr. Jared Geiger, who's an associate professor. And whenever you are ready, Andrea.
Patient status classifications can dictate an individual's access to healthcare, education, are contingent on policy, and are also influenced by political climates. Immigrants with precarious status might leave their countries due to financial hardship, warfare, or environmental disasters. In addition, they may experience traumatic events en route to a new cultural context. Precarious status means that there's uncertainty in the duration of the protection afforded to people by these classifications. Some examples include refugees and DACA recipients, or deferred action for childhood arrivals. My research is focused on understanding the relationship between resilience and mental health among immigrants with precarious status in the United States and Canada. How do these individuals navigate life in a new country? To answer this question, I'm conducting a systematic review this semester as part of my capstone project that is informed by the PRISMA 2020 flow diagram. This approach is a gold standard, guiding the inclusion and exclusion of articles, informing the reader how the articles were screened and where they came from. Although this project is still ongoing, I have some lessons to share with you all today from the limited available literature on this topic. Initially, the goal was to look at resilience interventions and mental health among undocumented immigrants in the United States and Canada using the database PubMed. However, this approach yielded a scarcity of search results, and as such, I turned to Google Scholar. Here, I was inundated by the search results using the database PubMed keywords. In consultation with a library science expert, I was able to narrow down my search results by using strategic keywords that still allow me to understand the immigrant experiences. Only this time, I'm looking at articles from the social work field from the past 5 years to ensure that my findings are the most novel, as science and life are ever-changing. My hope is that my evidence-based project will highlight the importance and urgency of supporting immigrants with precarious status in the United States and Canada. This means doing more studies to better understand the relationship between resilience and mental health, the development and implementation of holistic interventions that acknowledge and honor their entire journeys, as well as advocating for policy change that is inclusive of all immigrants. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Andrea. And at this time, I'd like to ask the judges to score Andrea's presentation. Thanks. our next slammer is Godson Ebenezer Ajavu, and he's looking at predicting total dissolved solids in the Colorado River Basin using remote sensing and machine learning techniques. Godson is currently in the Civil and Environmental Engineering program, and he is advised by Dr. Sajad Aman and Dr. Harun Stephen. So whenever you are ready, you can go, Godson.
The Colorado River is a source of water to millions of people in the southwestern US, including Nevada and then the Republic of Mexico. The Salinity Control Act, which was signed between the United States and the Republic of Mexico, requires a delivery of water to the Republic of Mexico with a TDS concentration of no more than 115 plus or minus 30 milligram per liter, in addition to the mean TDS located in the Imperial Dam of value 879. TDS in the Colorado River Basin is said to be costing the US government in excess of 300 million in economic damages. Assessing and quantifying the extent of this damage in the Colorado River is not only time consuming, but it's cost prohibitive and it's also labor intensive. This because the Colorado River is about 1,500 miles long with an area of 250,000 square miles. Remote sensing, however, offers an alternative approach to assess and quantify the extent of damage of dissolved solids in the Colorado River. Remote sensing offers a synoptic, spatial, and temporal coverage of the water body without necessarily going there to carry out field work, which will save the government a lot of money. Remote sensing images, which are used for prediction works, are said to save users billions of dollars, and they are always almost free of charge. With remote sensing and machine learning techniques, we can predict and determine the spatial extent of total dissolved solids. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Godson. And at this time, you know it, judges will do the scoring. And our next slammer is Sadea Ahmed Mazura, and she is going to be presenting on waste to resource, contaminant-free recovery of nutrients from urine. She is currently a PhD student, also in the Civil and Environmental Engineering program, and her advisor is Dr. Ekalat Khan. So whenever you are ready.
As a human being, we produce a lot of waste every day, like urine. So how many times we urinate in a day? 5 or 6 times, maybe more than that. Do you know that this urine is containing lots of good compounds like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium? These compounds are actually plant available nutrients and can be recycled to the agricultural field to improve the food production. But the question is, how can we reuse the urine to the agricultural field? In many countries, people use urine directly to the agricultural land. But the question comes here, is it safe for the environment? I would say no. Because urine does not only contain nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus, it also have lots of other contaminants like antibiotics. We take antibiotics for treating different kind of disease, and the antibiotics does not consume our body totally. Some of the residues goes to the urine. So if you use urine to the field, then it can release some of the antibiotic to the environment, which is not safe. So I'm going to use biochar as an adsorbent to uptake the nutrients from the urine solution. But there is another point come, what if biochar uptakes some of the antibiotics too? So my research is considering of modifying the biochar in a way that it uptakes only the nutrients, the good parts of the urine, and all other bad parts and the contaminants being in the urine solution will be sent to the treatment plant for further treatment. When we apply that biochar loaded with nutrients as a slow releasing fertilizer in the agricultural field, it can help to improve the crop yield. It can do greenhouse gas mitigation and carbon sequestration. My research has an impact on everyone on earth who is taking food, and it is related to the food production. It is going to support the agriculture, reduce the food insecurity, and also reduce the use of chemical fertilizer. Thank you.
Thank you, Saidea. We would like to ask now the judges to please do their ratings. Okay, and now we're going to have our last slammer of this session, Juanita Hinojosa, and she will be presenting on Donde está mi gente, and that's on Latinx in rural higher education. Juanita is currently a PhD student in higher education, and her advisor is Dr. Bianca Bercom. So whenever you're ready, Juanita.
Be honest, when you think of rural, what do you think of? For many of us, it could be the image that you see off the Florida coast. And to a degree, you are correct. After all, 97% of the United States is rural. Many may also assume that rural equals white populations, and until recently, to a degree, again, you were correct. However, the rural landscape is changing. The Latinx community is reinvigorating areas that are losing white populations. At the same time that the Latinx community is migrating to rural areas, it is increasing the numbers in higher education. According to the Pew Research Center, there are approximately 3.8 million Latinx currently enrolled in higher ed, an exponential growth from the 1.5 million estimated in 2000. Consequently, we are seeing an increase of Hispanic serving institutions. These are institutions that enroll over 25% of Latinx undergraduate student populations, amongst other factors. Excelencia in Education estimates that HSIs make up approximately 18% of all institutions of higher education, yet they enroll 66% of Latinx undergraduates in the US. And the diversity of HSIs beyond Latinx students is notable. The Hispanic Association for Colleges and Universities estimates that HSIs enroll more African Americans than all historically Black colleges and universities, more Native Americans and Indigenous students than all tribal colleges and universities, and over 41% of Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islanders in college today. So this brings me to my dissertation focus, a qualitative phenomenological study of which one of my research questions is, how do Latinx students experience rural higher education? And I'm taking my research home. You see, there is an area that is currently missing from the conversation. When looking at existing empirical research, I was able to find research on white students in the Appalachian Mountains, Latinx students in the Southwest, Black students in the South, and Indigenous students in tribal colleges and universities all over the country. To give you an example of the type of contribution I'm trying to make, my research site is a community college that has been in HSI since 2003. Its student population is over 60% Latinx and over 80% are first generation, the first in their family to pursue a higher education degree. So I mentioned I was taking my research home. The images that you see here, this is family. This is what rural Latinx communities look like in this ever-changing rural demographic. And so I guess if you want to find out what my findings are on the experiences of rural Latinx in the Pacific Northwest and how I contribute to the conversation, you're going to have to continue to join me on my journey as I become Doctora Hinojosa in 2023. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Juanita. And so I'd like to also thank everyone so much for joining us for our preliminary rounds. A special thank you to the Grad Academy team who made this 3MT event possible. Now just stay tuned. We're going to announce the winners live in just a few minutes. While only the top 3 winners of this round will progress to the semifinals, you are all winners for just participating in this event. You will all receive a Grad Slam t-shirt, and so you can get yours during the Rebel Grad Slam finals reception. Just so that you know, for the semifinals round, the first place winner will get $600, while the second place winner gets $400, and the third place winner gets $200. And so what we're going to do right now is allow our team to tally up the scores for all the slammers, and we will be right back once we have the results. So stay tuned, please. Okay, did we keep you in suspense long enough? All right, thank you for sticking with us as our team worked their adding machine and finally came out with the final results. Okay, so you ready? The winners of this session, and we'll proceed to the semifinals. In third place with $100, it's Juanita Hinojosa. So congratulations, Juanita. In second place with $200 placement and a spot in the semifinal session, it is Nicole Tanguay. Congratulations. And in first place, also with $300 and a place in the semifinal session, it's a Dea Ahmed Maruza. I always mess up your name, Mazrura. So congratulations for the first place winner of this session. Thanks again to all of you for your participation. Our judges, wonderful judges, thank you so much. Our other slammers, thank you so much. Please join us for the semifinal round on Thursday, November 3rd at 9 a.m., 11 a.m., and at 1:30 p.m. in the Student Union Philip Cohen Theater. And of course, our finals this Friday is on November the 4th at 4 p.m. in the Greenspun Auditorium. And lastly, remember your Rebel Grad Slam t-shirts. They're available at the finals receptions at 5 p.m. in the Greenspun lobby. And if you would like to RS
Emily, you're on mute.
I accidentally pressed mute. I'm sorry. So if you would like to RSVP, please reply to this link that is in chat. You can sign up for reserving your t-shirt. So, in a spot in the reception. Anything else? Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us, and have a good Halloween evening. Take care, everybody.